Today on RCAM, we are going to be discussing the verdict concerning Donald Trump. He was found guilty, so there's a lot to unpack there. We're also going to be discussing the looming threat of AI and not just how they pose a threat to your everyday worker, but also CEOs. And we'll discuss how algorithms, including the algorithms on TikTok, keep us in separate realities, and we'll talk about Chelsea Handler's unhinged reaction to Harrison Butker's speech. So all that and more today on RCAM. All right, so I'm doing things a little bit differently today. So I'm trying to stream on TikTok too, so we'll see how that goes. Welcome. Thank you for tuning into RCAM. I'm your host, Ryan, and we got a lot to dive into today. So we are going to be discussing this Trump verdict. I think that's the breaking news. I think that's what everybody's talking about right now. I was refreshing Twitter nonstop to see what was going on, and the verdict came in. And just to kind of give you guys a brief synopsis of what's going on here. So Trump was found guilty of on 34 counts in this hush money trial, and this was related to him evidently falsifying business records to quote unquote influence the outcome of the 2016 presidential election. So a lot of people right from the get-go have thought of this as kind of like a sham trial. That's what we did, and all the jurors voted against him. I mean, all of them voted for him to be guilty. I think I'm trying to think of the total amount of jurors, but it was not looking good on his behalf. So I want to break down for you kind of a little bit of what the Daily Wire had reported on this. So jurors returned a guilty verdict on Thursday in Donald Trump's hush money trial in New York, marking the first time a former U.S. president has been convicted of a crime. The decision is the culmination of a few weeks long courtroom battle in which Trump claimed he was the target of political persecution as he runs another campaign for the second term in the White House. The former president was found guilty on all 34 charges brought into trial. Legal experts doubt the 77-year-old Trump will end up being incarcerated, though the Secret Service reportedly coordinated with local jail officers just in case. Possible alternatives to imprisonment include probation or community service, which, I mean, whatever sentence they end up handing down, I do think it's likely to be the latter. But this is huge. I mean, and a lot of people, if you've been paying attention to this, and I'll admit I've been following it loosely, but right from the get-go, we've all just assumed that this was a sham trial, that this was absolute nonsense, that this was a witch trial, and that they were going to try at any cost to judge this guy guilty. And the courts were kind of rigged against him, to be honest, if I'm being fully transparent. I don't know what TikTok's rules are, so I don't know. I don't know if this is going to land me in hot water, but I don't care. They rigged this thing against him. And this has been a witch hunt from the get-go. And they've been out for blood for Trump for a long time now. And they seize on an opportunity to persecute their political enemy, to prevent somebody from running for office. But little did they know, and I don't think they were expecting this, that this only has galvanized more people to vote for him. So it did nothing to stop. It's not going to do anything to stop Trump. And it is obviously he's going to appeal this thing. And it's galvanized more people to vote for him. His donation page started shutting down. They could not keep up with the number of donations coming in. That's how sold out people are for Trump, and that's how brazen they're being. That I think they have overplayed their hand severely. And I think he just secured himself victory in 2024. That's what I think is going to happen. Am I surprised to see him actually convicted? Yes, but then when you look at kind of the way the New York legal system is structured, it isn't that surprising. And I have already lost my faith in New York State legal system. I mean, just think about this. This is how crazy New York is. You could violently assault people on the streets and then be let out the next day. And now, but they're throwing the book at Trump strictly because they hate him. They hate his guts, and they want to see persecution against their political enemies. So yeah, that's why they're doing this, and everybody can see it. And he did release a video that I want to play. I won't be able to play that on TikTok, but we're gonna play it on here. All right. Let's get this video up and go.
This is the final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media, and we will liberate America from these villains once and for all.
So yeah, he released a video basically encouraging people that he's going to fight, that he's not going to give up. And I think, again, this is just going to galvanize people. I mean, he's getting donations in record number. Again, so many donations that the website crashed. And then you have people like Tim Pool donating the maximum amount. And people like Matt Walsh, by the way, I've never heard of Matt Walsh donating to any political candidate. Him saying he's going to give a sizable donation to the Trump campaign. So this is significant, and we need to recognize it. This is an important moment in in our country, because we are seeing the legal system being weaponized against political opponents. And the Democrats talk a lot about precedent. What type of precedent does this set? What does this ultimately mean for the future of our country when you are trying to arrest your political enemies by conjuring up and lobbing bogus charges at them? So yeah, it's not looking good. So we will see what ultimately happens. I just think this is going to backfire. I really do. I do not think that this is going to work out the way that Democrats hoped. And Trump is going to have more support than he has ever had. And we are going to see people come out in record numbers to vote for him, to support him, because what is happening is obvious, and anybody that has half a brain can see it. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens next. Again, I think he's going to appeal this, and then we'll go from there. So the next story I wanted to talk about, and I'll get this video pulled up for those of you watching on platforms that are not TikTok. So I've talked about the threat of AI quite a bit. A lot, actually. I talk about AI pretty much constantly because I've identified that it's a massive problem, and that it's going to disrupt our society in ways that we never even dreamed of. I mean, the technology that they have coming out, almost every day it improves. And I recently saw a video, and I'll play this for you, of this robot. I mean, that looks lifelike, is moving her eyes and her face, and it kind of looks a little bit like an anime character. So yeah, they're going to do that. But the eye movements and the way that they're making this thing look as real and animated as possible is scary, and I've seen ones that look like real human beings with real human facial expressions, and then I've seen obviously this one that kind of has blue hair and looks a little bit like an anime character, and it's really creepy how far they are coming in robotics. And then when you couple this with um, artificial intelligence, it's a recipe for a brave new world that we are not prepared for. And I don't know what it's going to look like when artificial robots are in every person's household, but that's coming. That is without a doubt coming down the pipeline. We are going to see AI robots in people's homes, and they are going to be replacing a lot of the tasks that we take for granted. They're going to be doing things that we didn't think would be replaced. And they're going to be replacing relationships too. People will use these robots use these robots as babysitters. They'll use these robots as maids. They'll use these robots as partners. And that's disturbing in and of itself. You will have real human beings trading real life relationships for something artificial. Something that doesn't have a soul, doesn't have a heart. And that is more scary than anything. That people will really trade up the love of a real human being for a machine. But that's the future that we are quickly approaching. We are approaching a future where AI robots will be a norm in our society. iRobot, I talk about that movie often. That'll be a reality. You'll come home, you'll go over to your friend's house, and the door will be answered by a robot. You go to work, you'll have robot coworkers. Maybe, if you have a job. And that brings me to kind of the next concern, is what this ultimately means for your everyday worker. Obviously, we're going to just see jobs wiped off the board with automation, self-driving cars. I mean, there goes the taxi services. There goes Uber. there goes, the trucking industry. UPS gone. All these industries will be shut down. Once that becomes mainstream, becomes scale, and that we have the network to support having things connected to the internet everywhere, that's the next frontier, and that's going to be the thing that fundamentally changes society. Now, we're still a ways out, but it's something that we need to be prepared for. It's something that we need to be mindful of, because this is happening. And if you're somebody that thinks like, well, I own my own business, I'm a CEO, I'm not replaceable. Maybe those leg workers, that they'll get laid off, but not me. They still need me around to run things and call the shots. Well, I hate to break this to you, but you are also expendable. Everybody is basically replaceable when it comes to AI. So this brings me to my next story that I want to talk about. And this is from the New York Times. If AI can do your job, maybe it can also replace your CEO. So chief executives are vulnerable to the same forces buffeting their employees. Leadership is important, but so is efficiency and cost cutting. And CEOs, they cost a lot of money. So robots will be taking your jobs, and you'll have a robot boss. This is crazy. This is like just the idea of this is wild to me. As artificial intelligence programs shake up the office, potentially making millions of jobs obsolete, one group of perpetually stressed workers seems especially vulnerable. These employees analyze new markets and discern trends, both the task a computer could do more efficiently. They spend much more of their time communicating with colleagues in laborious activities that is being automated with voice and image generators. Sometimes they must make difficult decisions, and who is better at being dispassionate than a machine? This is exactly so. When you think of nightmare scenarios, this is exactly it. Everything being run by machines. Everything being run by machines, including companies. I mean, it's already bad enough that we have to deal with like automated calls when we call into a company. But now, if you want to speak to the CEO, you're also going to get a robot. How crazy is that? You know, I think this is one of those things that that I'm reading some of the TikTok comments, and they're ridiculous. One person wrote, "Are you the border? Because I can't get over you." Oh, that's funny. All right. All right. Anyway, this is insane. This is crazy town. We should not be doing this. And obviously, it doesn't bode well. And you know what? You want to know what's going to happen with these companies? So we have, and I'm going to comment on this story in a second because it's relevant. But we have these algorithms that already control social media. They already do. They feed you what you want to see and what you want to hear, and they custom tailor your experience, sometimes to our disadvantage, because they're feeding us only one aspect of information and not giving us what even they are only tailoring the algorithms to what they think we want to see, and not necessarily what we need to see. And to have the whole scope of truth, we need to kind of see a little bit of everything, including some things that we may not like. That's what it means to be living in reality. You're exposed to uncomfortable truths. William writes, "It's time for the Terminator to do his thing. This is stupid as hell." Yeah, I agree. It is. Someone wrote, "Opinions on psychosis being 11 times more likely in teenagers, yet it's more accessible than ever." Yeah. Well, I think, these algorithms play a role in that. And now I think that our companies are going to be run by algorithms too. You're going to have an algorithm making decisions like, oh, we see that, this group of individuals is not being quite as productive as we need them to be, so they're fired. And you're just going to get an automated email from your AI robot overlord telling you don't have a job anymore. And then it's probably just going to get replaced with another AI robot. And there you go. You won't even have any human interaction anymore. And when you think that you do, and you think you're talking to a real person, you're going to come to discover, oh, it's just a robot. A robot that looks human and lifelike. That's the future. I'm telling you, maybe you don't think that it is. Maybe you think, oh, we got time. We don't have as much time as you think. And I'm not saying there's not going to be benefits to AI. I think we'll largely be sold the benefits. But there's going to be unintended consequences. There's just going to be things that we never predicted are going to happen that are going to happen. Same with the smartphones. There were a lot of unintended consequences of having smartphones. Consequences that we were not prepared for as a society. And now we're seeing those unintended consequences play out. And it's not pretty. It's not fun. It's disturbing. And we're seeing society turn in a way that we just never expected. Speaking of that, related to this, all right. So there was this story by the New York Post talking about Gen Zers putting off getting a car. So the headline reads, Gen Z teens largely put the brakes on driving, signaling seismic shift in US car culture. So Zoomers are seemingly rewriting the teenage rite of passage script, opting for tech over tires as they steer a cultural shift away from the traditional rush to the open road. New research from MarketWatch Guides found that the youngest group of drivers aged 19 and under make up 1 in 25, or approximately 3.6 of licensed drivers in the United States. Taking all drivers under the age of 25 into account brings the combined percentage to 11% of the driving force. Drivers ages 30 through 40, meanwhile, are most likely to be behind the wheel. Their overall percentage comes to 9% across that 4-year age span. This is directly connected with technology. They are opting out of getting their driver's license because of technology. And think about it. They don't need to. When I was growing up, we needed to drive to connect with our friends. It was still not fluid doing FaceTime and video calls like that. And the preferred way to connect with other people was in person. So when I could not wait to get my car, I couldn't wait. It was the single thing that I was most excited for as a teenager, was getting my car, because that meant that I was going to get a degree of freedom that I didn't have. The idea of being able to go where I want, when I want, was just something that I looked forward to. But now, Gen Z, they don't have that same desire. They're not in a rush, and it's for a couple of different reasons. One of them, being that they spend a lot more time on their phones. They spend a lot more time inside. 2, they're also scared. This is a generation that is riddled with anxiety. Even one of my own family members, she's scared. She's in college now, but she's scared to drive. And I don't think that this is good. She's nervous to drive, and people would rather take an Uber or rather do something else than drive themselves. And I don't think they realize that they're giving up their autonomy and, in a way, paving the road for automation. And then one day, maybe we won't have the freedom to drive ourselves. And that's a little scary. Maybe we won't have the freedom to explore the way that we always had. It's kind of just hitting me right now what the implications of this could mean. Maybe the future is all cars are automated, and when we want to go somewhere, we punch in our app or whatever, and we just get in the car and it takes us there on a predefined path that we can't deviate from. We don't have manual control over our cars anymore, and it just takes us to where it wants us to go. And we no longer have that freedom to explore, to see the world in a way that isn't predefined. And I think there's something incredibly exciting about being able to explore. And I don't know what life looks like when a people doesn't have that spirit of exploration in them, or all your paths are chosen for you. That's a little unsettling. That's a future that I don't want to know. I want to choose my own path. I want to go where I want to go. I want to do my own thing because I understand what it means to be free. And having a car, if you're Gen Z and you're scared and you're watching this, having a car, yeah, it's a little risky. But some of the best things in life are. And having a car means freedom. You can travel where you want, do what you want. It's a beautiful thing. You don't need to ask anybody's permission. You just get in your car and you go. Don't take that for granted. Because one day you could wake up and driving isn't an option anymore. Your paths are set. Cars will only take you from A to B. You won't be allowed to go anywhere else. And maybe this is the worst case scenario. Maybe I'm being paranoid. But I do think that's a possibility that we need to be mindful of. All right. In this same vein, where is it? There's another video that I want to play. You guys on TikTok will not be able to say it, but I'll see it, but I'll describe it for you. All right.
This is the most insane example of how everyone is experiencing completely different social medias at the exact same time. Like, this video, my boyfriend said he'd be over by 3 after golfing. And, like, it's just her every half an hour taking a video saying, oh, he's still not here. And it gets to, like, 5 or 6 p.m. and he's still not here, okay? I opened the comments of this video and, kind of as I expected, everyone was saying, oh, that's really rude. It's the disregard of her time. I don't like him. Did he communicate with you? If not, then that's a red flag, okay? Fair enough, you know? I send this video to my boyfriend who was sat next to me, and then I said to my boyfriend, lol, look at the comments. Bear in mind, these comments were coming up at the top of the list, so as soon as you open the comments, these are the ones that came up for me. Tell me fucking why my boyfriend opens the comments on his phone. Again, it's the first list of comments that come up. It's the same time, on the same video. Or you could get your own hobby instead of waiting around for him. Like, God forbid he has a good time. He meant before 3 a.m, he's ahead of schedule. No fucking wonder we're all so divided when you can look at the same comments on the same video and it'll change them based on who you are, and I presume based on, like, other activity in the app. Like,
so this video that I just played is describing a boyfriend and a girlfriend. They're both looking at this video, and it's a video that they both are looking at the comments at the same time, and the man and the woman are getting fed different comments. So if you had played this video, you would see completely different comments than mine, and comments that would likely feed your own bias. So here we have TikTok feeding people 2 different realities and essentially dividing them, making the girls feel like the guys at fault, and the guys to feel like the girls at fault, and like it's just pitting us against each other. And these are what these algorithms do. They pit us against each other. So now, Matt, scale this up. What is this going to look like when we have algorithms running life? I don't know if you guys have watched the last season of Westworld. Pretty good. Very good. It came out a while ago. But I encourage you to watch it. Because it's exactly... it describes, I think, our not-so-distant future. Where lives are determined by algorithms. And that the algorithms get so sophisticated, so advanced, that they can detect people who are going to pose a problem for society. They're going to be able to identify the problem children. The people that are charismatic, the people that are leaders, the people that can make a difference. And I believe algorithms will be deployed to keep those people in line, one way or another. And that's creepy. I believe the algorithms are already that significant. I believe, and this is conspiracy. I'm treading into land of conspiracy, but this is just my thoughts. I believe the algorithms on these social media websites are so sophisticated that they can already recognize the problem children. They know who they are. There's an asterisk by their name. They know who they are. They know who's going to cause problems. They know who the revolutionaries are. They know who the people are that are going to resist. They know who the people are that are going to comply. Somebody that has that type of technology is dangerous and can be dangerous. And that can be used in very nefarious ways. And I think that's something that we need to be mindful of and be aware of, because this is something that could come back to haunt us in a really, really bad way. I do not want life being controlled by algorithms and robots. I think that is a recipe for disaster. All right. So this last video that I want to comment on, there was a couple more I was going to do, but I'll do them another day. Is this video of our favorite comedian, Chelsea Handler, so funny, commenting on Harrison Butker. So I'm going to play that video, and then we'll talk about it.
Harrison Butker, who's talking more than I typically like for a male. He's a kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, and I learned that kickers rarely get tackled. So based on his misogynistic rant during a recent commencement address, I'm guessing this Bible thumper thumped himself a little too hard with his Bible and gave himself CTE.
Some of you may go on to lead successful.
So she's talking about Harrison Butker being a Bible thumper. The guy is giving a speech at a Catholic university. I think it's okay for us to exercise our faith at a Christian university. I don't know. Are we not allowed to be Christians at a Christian university? Are we not allowed to have Christian values in the company of other Christians? Are we not allowed to? No, definitely not. Definitely not. So Chelsea Handler has a problem with this.
Successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world, and embrace one of the most important titles of all, homemaker.
First of all, Harrison, you're a kicker, so you have one important part of your body, and it's not your fucking brain.
I can tell you that my beautiful wife, Isabel, would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother. Isabel's dream of having a career might not have come true, but if you asked her today if she has any regrets on her decision, she would laugh out loud without hesitation and say, heck no.
Isabel, please.
You know, one of the things about this speech, too, is that I am floored over the amount of people that found this speech controversial. A man encouraging women to be homemakers. That's a beautiful thing. That's a profoundly beautiful thing. And I suspect people are butthurt about it because he said the absolute truth. And he said what needed to be heard. And people like Chelsea Handler, they have a problem with it because they realize that their own lives don't measure up. And their own lives will never measure up.
Please blink twice if you need us to call for help. But the real kicker is that Harrison Butker's mother is a renowned physicist who has a degree in chemistry and a master's in medical physics. So, who paid for all those youth athletic team fees and uniform fees and equipment fees when Harrison was a kid so he could grow up to have a career making millions of dollars for fucking kicking things? My guess is a working woman. Harrison, this is the first time I've heard about you, and hopefully the last. And after this, I'm going to go ahead and do what your fellow teammate does and just pretend like you don't exist.
I don't talk to Harrison all year long, man. I just let him do his thing. We sit right beside each other in team meeting, and I don't say one word to him.
As you may have...
Now, Harrison Butker did not say that women couldn't work. He didn't put a ban on working. He just placed an emphasis on the significance of being a homemaker, of prioritizing family over career because he understands that that is what's ultimately going to give most women fulfillment. That's the truth. That is where your average woman is going to be most fulfilled. Also, by the way, your average man is also going to be most fulfilled in having children and having a family. That's the truth. That's reality. And most men actually find their purpose and their meaning not just in their family, but also being providers for their family. That's why men typically go out and work. And women are their roles most of the time, I think are found in homemaking and serving other people. I think that's the way women are wired, to find joy and fulfillment in taking care of their homes. I think that's the way that things ought to be. Are they? No, unfortunately not. Feminism has come in and destroyed everything, and I think Chelsea Handler is a good poster child of that. Another video I want to show you, just so that you understand the type of woman that is outraged over Harrison Butker. I'll play this video from Chelsea Handler, and if you're on TikTok, you could just type in Chelsea Handler day in the life of a childless woman, and you'll see the video I'm talking about.
This is a day in the life of a childless woman. I wake up at 6 a.m. I remember that I have no kids to take to school, so I take an edible, masturbate, and go back to sleep. I wake up at...
Chelsea Handler is bragging about eating edibles, masturbating, and sleeping all day. Man, she's really inspiring people to want to be childless. She's really inspiring people to want to live a life devoid of meaning and purpose. Yeah, that's what every woman dreams of, being an old woman, waking up, eating edibles, and pleasuring themselves and sleeping all day. That's not it.
At 12:30 p.m. and get ready for a busy day of doing whatever the I feel like. I put on my most impractical and stylish shoes since I won't be chasing a child around the grocery store. I go to my fave spot in Paris to grab a croissant. I do a meditation sesh on the plane since I have no screaming kids, allowing me all the time in the world to become enlightened. The weightlessness of my existence has...
So she's talking about having all this time to become enlightened, yet she's still as dense as she's ever been. She still doesn't realize that it's only going to be a matter of time before she wakes up one day and realizes she's utterly alone and childless, and that she's going to die alone, and that nobody's going to be by her side. That's the reality she's building for herself. I also find it rich that people act like people with kids can't do anything, that they don't have lives. Now, I admit, in the beginning, when they're real young, there's definitely some restrictions on what you can and cannot do. But the older they get, the more that you can do. And not only that, but you have this profound joy of doing things that you used to even do as a kid with your children. And you realize how beautiful having kids is. How profound it really is. I used to go on hikes all the time by myself before I had my daughter. Now I do hikes with them. Now they're not as intense, but I do them with my daughter, and we have a great time. We look for berries, and we appreciate nature, and we just enjoy quality time together. It's one of the beautiful things about having children.
Has granted me superhuman powers. I teleport myself back home. Then I get ready for a night out with whatever hot guy I met on Raya that morning. I call up a babysitter and tell her that I don't need her since I still don't have kids. Now it's time for a workout, so I hit Mount Everest for a quick climb. I invent a time machine, go back in time, and kill Hitler.
Freeze, you bastard!
It's amazing what you can do
That's
when you
kinda
have
fun.
this much free time. And that's a day in the life of a childless woman.
Chelsea Handler is the exact reason that Harrison Butker needed to give his speech. Women like her is everything that you should not aspire to be like. I could not imagine being how old is she? She has to be in her 50s. I think she's in her 50s. Imagine being a woman in your 50s and bragging about sleeping around, pleasuring yourself, and eating edibles. Like that just sounds pathetic to me. It just sounds so remarkably pathetic to me that I can't imagine that anybody would brag about that. And it pales in comparison to having kids. Hey, everybody on TikTok. Yeah, I can't with the feminists, man. The women that are outraged over this whole Harrison Butker thing is just ridiculous. And it's a controversy, honestly, that should have been over. I shouldn't even be talking about this anymore. But unfortunately, because of people like Chelsea Handler, I have to. Because seeing a man encourage a woman to step into what is ultimately going to be most fulfilling for her fills feminists with a visceral rage. Again, because they are reminded of the emptiness of their own lives. They are reminded they are going to die alone. They are reminded that all the material possessions in their life will amount to nothing. And that's a sad reality that I don't want anyone to live in. And again, I think Harrison Butker should go on tour with his speech. He should be delivering this speech to every possible venue that will host him. I would pay money to go see it. I'd pay money to go see that speech again. Because I think it definitely needs to be heard. Because there are a lot of women that have sacrificed their childbearing years on the altar of their career, and it cost them everything. I know some of these women. I know them. They gave up having children for their career. And by the time they were ready to return to it, it was too late. Because the unfortunate reality is that women do have biological clocks. That's not hateful. That's not bigoted. That's not sexist. That's just reality. There will be a time where fertility decreases and you will not be able to have kids anymore. That's the truth. You can come back to your career. You can work again. You can go back to school. That is an option on the table for you. So my encouragement is, pursue homemaking first, and then when the kids are growing a little bit, do your career, or maybe your husband's in a financial situation where you can work part-time. That's cool too, but do not buy the lie that your career is what's going to bring you the most joy in life. I don't think that it will. Yeah, with rare exception. I think if you're somebody that you're opting out of having children to serve something higher than yourself, let's say ministry, you're giving your life to be in ministry. That's a beautiful thing, or dedicating your life because you want to be the person that cures cancer. That's a beautiful thing, So I think there are exceptions to the rule, but I think most women, most men, they want families. I think most women will be most fulfilled in their homes. That's the reality. That's the hard truth that not a lot of people want to hear. So, Chelsea Handler, she ain't it. She just ain't it. That woman is sad. And I think that's gonna do it for me today, guys. I appreciate it. I had fun doing this TikTok live thing, so I'll probably do it more often. I really got to figure out a way to get the video that I'm playing on here. I'm just not that far along, not that advanced. Little bit of a boomer mindset learning curve for me. But eventually I'll figure it out. But I thought this is cool. If you like my content, like, subscribe, follow. If you're on TikTok, follow me on my other socials. I'm a lot more vocal than I am here. I have to skirt the rules a little bit so I don't get shadow banned. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a blessed night. Deuces.